Klay Thompson, and Chris Paul. 60 minutes before every game, we get you ready for tip. It's Warriors Live, and it starts now.
Yes, it does. Welcome into Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. It's Mark Randy with you as we get you ready for the final game of the 2023-2024 regular season. It's Warriors and Jazz, an hour away from tip-off at Chase Center in San Francisco. I'm currently set up at Ballast Point, a few blocks away from Chase Center. If you are on your way into the game, there's lots of Warrior fans walking down 16th east towards Chase. If you're on the right side of 16th Street as you're walking to Chase, about 3 blocks away from Chase, turn to the right, go into Ballast Point, stop by, grab yourself something to eat and drink before heading to Chase Center, and you can even say what's up to me if you are on your way in. Ballast Point, 16th Street, San Francisco, just a few blocks west of Chase Center. It is the site for Warriors Live today here on 95.7 The Game, and Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity 10G, the network made for streaming. It's our final Warriors Live of the regular season. The Warriors have, at the very least, one more game after today, and we're going to get into all of the different possibilities and the permutations, and also, by the way, when that game might be, because there is an oddity in the Eastern Conference that might push the Western Conference play-in games to different days. So we're going to get into that, but the Warriors have more to root for than just themselves and a couple of teams in the West. I think they could possibly benefit from a certain result in the Eastern Conference. So we will get to that before the show is over. It's Mark Randy with you on 95.7 The Game, Warriors Live ahead of Warriors and Jazz. Let's just begin with today's injury report. And the injury report, as always, is brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. First for the Warriors, it is a long injury report. Steph Curry and Draymond Green, they're both out. Steve Kerr did say pregame that Steph Curry could have played today. They're being cautious, and they decide to rest Steph Curry. Same goes for Draymond Green. Officially, Steph is listed with a right ankle sprain. If you do recall, late in the game on Friday in the loss to the Pelicans, Steph Curry was double-teamed, picked up his dribble beyond the three-point line, and trying to find a way to get a pass around the double team. He had a slight roll of his ankle, but he stayed in the game and played really well after that. The Warriors, they have to have some sort of designation when they list a player on the injury report, so they do have him listed with that right ankle sprain. But again, Steve Kerr saying that he could have played today. They're just being cautious. They're resting Steph Curry. He will not play today, but he will be ready for the play-in whenever and against whoever and wherever it is early next week. Draymond Green is also out, resting him as well. Gary Payton II is out with a left calf strain. Interestingly enough, for the Warriors, and unfortunately for the Warriors, this does not appear to just be a rest for GP2. He's out with a left calf strain, also missed Friday with that same left calf strain. And Steve Kerr has said pregame, quote, "We will see over the next couple of days on his availability for the play-in." So the Warriors at this point are unsure about GP2's availability for the play-in tournament, either on Tuesday or on Wednesday. They're not sure about GP2. All we know for now is that he is also out today, but it's a different kind of out than Steph and Draymond. Because Steph and Draymond are being rested. The GP2, he's actually dealing with an injury that is keeping him out of this game, a left calf strain. Meanwhile, Klay Thompson was listed as questionable. He is available with right knee tendonitis, and Chris Paul was also listed as questionable. He is expected to play today as well for the Warriors. Steph Curry, Draymond Green resting, GP2 out. And then Jonathan Kuminga is also questionable. He's going to test it out pregame. He probably is doing it right now on the court at Chase Center. We do not have word just yet. He is potentially going to play, but as it stands right now, essentially a game-time decision. Jonathan Kuminga, we don't know just yet. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, GP2 out. Chris Paul and Klay Thompson available tonight. Today. That's going to be a hard habit to break. It is a 12:30 tip, so it's a afternoon game for the Warriors. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, GP2 out today. Klay Thompson, Chris Paul available. Jonathan Kuminga, we don't know just yet. That is for the game that tips off in about an hour at 12:30 from Chase Center here on 95.7 The Game. Meanwhile, for the Utah Jazz, who come in today at 31-51. If you remember back around the All-Star break when the Warriors had 2 games against the Jazz in rapid succession, they played twice in a span of 3 days on the 12th of February and on the 15th of February. I guess in a span of 4 days. The Utah Jazz were the team that were on the Warriors' heels, and before the Houston Rockets won 11 games in a row, the Warriors were most threatened by the Utah Jazz in terms of a team that might push them out of the play-in, out of the 10 seed. It was looking for a while as if it was going to be the Utah Jazz, but at the trade deadline, they traded away a number of key rotational pieces, and since then, they haven't really been too eager to win basketball games. They're now 31-51. They're 10-30 away from Salt Lake City. And you look at their injury report, not a ton of major injuries, but you don't have a ton of guys that are playing tonight for the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Walker Kessler, and Chris Dunn are all out today for Utah. Meanwhile, Colin Sexton is questionable with an illness for the Utah Jazz. And just as I'm speaking here about the injury report brought to you by Boxer and Gerson, we do have a little bit of breaking news for you on Warriors Live, again, which is presented by Xfinity 10G, the network made for streaming. And the breaking news is Jonathan Kuminga's availability. I was telling you that he's probably, as we're speaking right now, testing out his pelvic contusion. Remember, he fell really hard that was Thursday in Portland, did not play on Friday. He has tested it out pregame, and per Anthony Slater, Jonathan Kuminga is available and starting for the Warriors today. So Jonathan Kuminga is officially available along with Klay Thompson and Chris Paul. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and GP2 are out. With that news, we now have a locked-in Golden State starting 5. There's 5 starters today for the Warriors against the Utah Jazz: Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Given the Warriors players that are available, that seems like the easy choice for a starting 5. Not many surprises there. Again, it's Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. All right, speaking of Trayce Jackson-Davis, before we do get into all the different permutations and some of the scores that are impacting the Warriors right now, and who are they rooting for, and can they be the 8, the 9, the 10, who would they play? Will it be here in San Francisco? Will it be in SAC? Will it be in LA? We'll get to all of that here in just a little bit. But speaking of Trayce Jackson-Davis, I did want to sneak in our Take It to the Bank prediction, which is brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises. Just spent a lot of time talking about the Warriors' injury report. Considering that they have fewer bodies left, and one of those bodies that they will not have is Draymond Green, I think it's going to mean more minutes for Trayce Jackson-Davis today. So I'll go with Trayce Jackson-Davis to record a double-double. Lock it in, TJD, 10 or more points, 10 or more rebounds. He started in each of the Warriors' last 10 games. He's averaging nearly 11 points and about 8.5 rebounds per game in those 10 games in about 25.7 minutes per game. So again, I imagine he's going to be playing a little bit more minutes today than he has over the last couple of weeks when he has been a starter, and that'll give him plenty of opportunity to record a double-double today. And Steve Kerr did speak about Trayce Jackson-Davis pregame today. He said, quote, "To be perfectly frank, I wish I had played Trayce a little bit more on Friday." And, of course, he was a team best plus 12 in 22 minutes. And I know there was some frustration that both Trayce Jackson-Davis and Moses Moody got subbed out in the fourth quarter when the Warriors began to make a run to get back in that ball game against the Pelicans. They get subbed out. The Warriors actually continued their run after they gave it up a little bit. They got back within 3 in the final minute. Steph Curry was awesome late, but Kerr did admit that he wished he played Trayce Jackson-Davis a little bit more, especially late in the game on Friday. I would expect him to get over 30 minutes today, and as a result, my Take It to the Bank prediction is Trayce Jackson-Davis a double-double today in the regular season finale against the Utah Jazz. Okay. So there's a number of games going on around the association today that impact the Warriors. Obviously, the most obvious ones are the 2 teams right above the Warriors in the standings in the Western Conference. Right now, the Lakers are 8, and the Kings are 9. The Warriors are 10. The Lakers have a one game better record than both the Kings and the Warriors, and that's very important because the Lakers would lose the tiebreaker against both the Kings and the Warriors, and if it happened to be a three-way tie, they would lose that tiebreaker as well. The Kings have the tiebreaker against anybody, the Warriors have the tiebreaker against the Lakers, and then the Lakers don't have the tiebreaker against anyone. So they have the game advantage. That's the only reason why they are up. If these teams finish with the same records at the end of the day today, it would go Kings, Warriors, Lakers in that order from 8 to 10. Before we dive a little bit further, I did want to remind you that I am live from Ballast Point on 16th Street in San Francisco, just a few blocks west of Chase Center on 16th Street. If you're walking into the game, stop by. They're serving their special weekend brunch menu right now, serving all the way up until 3 o'clock today, so you can also stop by really quick right after the game if you want to sneak something in. Their parking garage is on 1800 Owens, or they have a deal with that parking garage, and they cover for 2.5 hours. So if you do come to Ballast Point, make sure you park at the garage on 1800 Owens. They cover you for 2.5 hours. Also, if you're looking to book a major event, this is a fantastic place to do it. A birthday party, a graduation party, a going away party, corporate events as well. Ballast Point here on 16th Street can do up to 200-person events. If you are interested in booking an event, contact San Francisco Events at ballastpoint.com. Also, let's see here. They are going to be participating in the Bay Area Brew Fest. I told you about this on Friday, but want to emphasize it here. It's April 20th, so a week from yesterday. So next Saturday, April 20th, at the Presidio Main Lawn, the Bay Area Brew Festival returns, featuring over 70 breweries, including Ballast Point, hundreds of beers, food trucks, live music, and much more. Admission includes unlimited samples from participating breweries. General admission is $65. It runs from 1 to 4 Saturday afternoon. Again, Saturday, April 20th, 6 days from today. Ballast Point will be out there supporting, involved in the Bay Area Brew Festival. It'll feature beers such as Calm Before the Storm, a Nitro Cream Ale with coffee and vanilla, and a 2017 barrel-aged Victory at Sea, 13% ABV, and it is a limited seller by Ballast Point. So if you want to get a taste of Victory at Sea by Ballast Point, make sure you stop by the Bay Area Brew Festival coming up on Saturday, the 20th of April, 1 to 4 at the Presidio Main Lawn. General admission is $65. And again, they are open until 3 o'clock today, as they do a little bit of business post the Warrior game. So if you are in Chase Center, stop by really quickly afterwards, hang out for a bit, watch some of the other sports action going on the big screen TVs. They got all over the place here at Ballast Point. It is a great spot to spend some time in during the weekend. Okay, so let's get back to some of the craziness that could ensue today around the NBA. First of all, the Eastern Conference is a little bit interesting, and I guess before I get into this, I should just say that this is also our What's on Tap, which is brought to you by Farmers Brewing. Have you tried Farmers Brewing yet? If not, it's time to put your lips on a farmer. And what's on tap for the Warriors is at least one more game. No matter what happens today, even if the Warriors lose and everybody that the Warriors want to lose wins, the Warriors will be playing at least one more basketball game before this season ends. It will be on either Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, I have told you in the past that the 7-8 games in both conferences take place on Tuesday, and then the 9-10 games take place for both conferences on Wednesday. That's how the NBA has done it since the inception of the play-in tournament back in the 2021 postseason. And that was the plan, is the plan this year as well. The reason they do it that way is so the loser of the 7-8 game has an extra day of rest and an extra advantage over the winner of the 9-10 game. They want to emphasize how important it is to get to the 7-8 portion of the play-in, and they want to reward that team with, the extra rest, because the loser of the 7-8 game, which would take place on Tuesday, plays the winner of the 9-10 game, which takes place on Wednesday, and that game between the winner and the loser takes place on Friday. So if you're in the 9-10, you play Wednesday and you win, you have to play Friday and win again against the team that played on Tuesday. The teams on Tuesday have 2 days off. The teams on Wednesday have just 1 day off. That was the thought for the NBA, and I can get behind it. It makes a lot of sense. However, if the 76ers are the East's 7 seed at close of business today, they will not be able to host their first play-in game until Wednesday because of a scheduling conflict with the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers. Again, if the 76ers are the East's 7 seed, which, by the way, is the likeliest outcome as we begin games today, if the 76ers are the East's 7 seed, that means the East 7-8 game will not be able to take place until Wednesday, which means the NBA will adjust their schedule, making both Western Conference play-in games, the 7-8 and the 9-10, they would make both of those happen on Tuesday. Okay, that's interesting. While the Warriors would have less time to rest and prepare for a game on Tuesday, if they happen to win that game on Tuesday, they would then have an extra day off, and they wouldn't be going into that game on Friday at such a major disadvantage. So that's interesting. Okay, so how do the Philadelphia 76ers get the 7 seed? It is a little bit crazy, and there's a lot of different potential outcomes because there's so many jockeying for position. Just take my word for it. It is the most likely outcome that Philadelphia finishes as the 7. But if Philadelphia beats Brooklyn today and either Indiana loses to Atlanta or Orlando loses to Milwaukee, then they will jump out of the 7 seed. And let's take a look at those scores before we go any further. So we're interested in the Philadelphia score. In addition, we're looking at the Indiana score and the Orlando score. The Philadelphia 76ers, as it stands right now, they are leading the Brooklyn Nets by 17 points early in the fourth quarter. The Magic are leading the Bucks by 10 late in the third quarter. And the last one we care about is the Pacers, who are up big time on the Hawks very late in the third. So if all of those scores hold, if double-digit leads for the Sixers, the Magic, and the Pacers all hold, that means the Sixers would be the 7, and it means the Warriors, even if they're playing in the 9-10 game, which is very, very likely, they would play on Tuesday instead of Wednesday, which I think is a major, major reason for celebration for the Warriors, because you would be at much less of a disadvantage going into a potential second game of the play-in. On Friday, you'd have 2 full days between games, which for this veteran Warriors team who's already resting players today, that would mean a lot for the Golden State Warriors. All right, does that make sense? Root for those results in the East to continue, because that means the Warriors would play on Tuesday, and if they were to win on Tuesday, they would not be playing again until Friday as they get a couple of extra days off. All right, it is Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you live from Ballast Point on 16th Street, just a few blocks west of Chase Center here in San Francisco. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. You'll notice that all of the Eastern Conference games are underway right now and all right around the same time in games, late third, early fourth. That is because they all tipped off at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. All of the Western Conference games tip off in, now about 40, 45 minutes or so. They all begin at 12:30. You can hear Warriors and Jazz right here on 95.7 The Game as always, but there will be a lot of scoreboard watching for teams around the Western Conference while their game is going on. You can imagine there'll be a coach or two, maybe in the second row of seats, that are just looking at scores and barking instructions or barking the scores to Steve Kerr, and maybe he will adjust based on how things are playing out. For example, if the Portland Trail Blazers put up a 10-point lead over the Sacramento Kings in the third quarter, and the Lakers are locked in a battle with the Pelicans in New Orleans, the Warriors will be pushing very hard to make this a win if it's not already locked up. Because the only way the Warriors get to the 8th seed, which is very, very important and valuable, if the Warriors get to the 8th seed, they don't have to win 2 play-in games. They have to win 1 in 2 chances in the play-in. The only way that happens, though, is if the Lakers lose in New Orleans, which is certainly possible. New Orleans still has a lot to play for because they're trying to stay as the 6th seed, which would keep them out of the play-in tournament. But if they lose, there is a chance that they could be the 7th seed and would be in the play-in tournament. But the Lakers have to lose in New Orleans, and Sacramento has to lose to Portland in Sacramento. that is the least likely of the two by far, because Portland has nothing to play for at this stage, and Sacramento, they're locked into the play-in, but they could still get up to the 8. And if they are the 8, then again, they don't have to win 2 play-in games to make the playoffs. They only have to win 1. So very valuable for Sacramento to earn a win today. That's why Warriors as the 8 is unlikely, because the Lakers have to lose, the Kings have to lose, and the Warriors have to win. You need 3 things to go your way in order to be the 8 seed. There are multiple paths for the Warriors to the 9. First of all, you have to win, and then you need either the Lakers or the Kings to lose. If that happens, you would be the 9, and you would host that first play-in game in the Western Conference. The likeliest scenario, though, is the Warriors finish as the 10. The way that happens is either everybody wins, the Lakers, Kings, and Warriors all win, which is certainly possible, or the Warriors lose, and any other result. If the Warriors lose, and does not matter what any of the other teams do, they could lose, they could win, they could split one way, they could split the other way. If the Warriors lose, they are locked in as the 10. If every team wins, the Warriors are still the 10 as well. That is relatively likely, but there is a decent chance the Warriors could leap up to the 9, which is valuable in itself, because that means the Warriors would get to host the 9-10 game in the Western Conference play-in tournament. And while the Warriors are only 20-20 at home this year and much better on the road, I think they would rather be at home for a play-in game, whether or not it is against the Lakers or the Kings. They would rather be at home. If you are a Warrior fan, obviously rooting for both of the Lakers and the Blazers to lose, that seems relatively unlikely. So if you're looking for a more likely approach and a positive result for the Warriors, perhaps root, honestly, for the Lakers to win. If the Lakers win, the Lakers would be locked into the 8 seed, which means no matter what happens in the Sacramento game and the Golden State game, the Warriors would play the Kings in the 9-10 game of the play-in tournament, and that, in my opinion, seems like a better possible result, a better matchup for the Warriors than a matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers. And the way that happens again is if the Lakers beat New Orleans today, they're locked into the 8. The Warriors will, no matter what, be the 9 or the 10. We'll see how it all turns out as a result of that. But if the Warriors are the 9 or the 10 and the Lakers win, it means the Warriors would take on the Sacramento Kings. All right, a little bit more than a minute left here of Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game. It's Mark Randy with you as we get set for Dubs and Jazz, the regular season finale. But again, the Warriors have at least one more game left this season. There's a chance it could be at Chase Center. There's a chance it could be in LA. There's a chance it could be in Sacramento. But no matter what we do know is the Warriors have at least one more basketball game left. And I will talk you through all the possibilities and what it all means post-game. Warriors wrap up after the game today on 95.7 The Game. It's Dubs and it's Jazz. The Warriors without Steph Curry, without Draymond Green, without GP2 today. Everybody else is available, though, for the Golden State Warriors. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Live today here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity at home or on the go. You'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. Tim Roy has you covered next. It's Warriors and Jazz, the regular season coming to a close next, and it's on the way right after this here on 95.7 The Game.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather,